Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the studio fun day here on Saturday today. We're going to get started here in about 2 more minutes. Let's see here. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day so far. It is kind of a gray, damp, cold day here in north central Illinois. Just another fun day, right? So, going to be piecing some more quilt blocks today. I'm working on my quilt. And new for 2023 is what I'm calling Studio Fun Days. It can be quilting, it can be piecing, it can be making garments, it can be spinning yarn, it can be weaving. Just whatever I happen to be working on is what we're going to be doing for these studio fun days. And some of them will be pop-up. There won't be any forewarning about it. So very important for you to subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on. That way you'll be notified when I do go live. Okay. Hope that all made sense. Ooh-wee. Hi, Mia. Oh, I saw it was chilly down there in Florida as well. It is kind of going on like that all over the country today, I think. But it's all good. It is that time of the year, right? So it is 12 o'clock and we're going to get started. And when I'm not out on the road traveling, I will be doing this every Saturday at noon. And I'm also going to start back up where I was doing last year, the Quilts in Italy series. Well, we'll still be doing something similar to that, but it's going to be grouped into the Studio Fun Day series. And there might very well be more than just one of those a week. It might be 5 or 6. I might come on twice in one day. You just never know. So you just have to subscribe to the channel to find out about that. Because I'm trying to do these a little bit more naturally so they're not so super planned out. But at least at a minimum, every Saturday at noon there will be a new Studio Fun Day. Okay, so I'm going to swap my camera. And we're going to do, which one are we going to do? We're going to do this one right here, I think. There we go. And let's go onto this view here for just a moment because I'm going to show you. This is what we're making. We're making 4 patches. And we're going to be making 2 different types of blocks today. This is one type of 4-patch block that is made from this block. I'll cut this up, sew it back together to get this. But I'm also making block number 2 because I have a quilt top that I'm making out of these 2 different blocks. It's very scrappy looking. So I have a stack of, these are 5-inch charm squares. And I have a stack already that I pulled out of my stash. For this it takes 2 colors, 2 different colors to make one of these, obviously. And I'm just going to take these off of the top in order and make blocks out of them. So that's what I'm going to be doing first today. Okay. Hi Sylvia. Hi Tracy. Hi Ellie. Yes, everybody, everything I do live on YouTube is recorded, so they can be watched at leisure after the live is over. They're always on there. Hi, Janelle. Hi, Karen. So every Friday night will be 6 p.m. That's my evening live. And then through the week, including on weekends, I'll be doing them at 12 noon. And the reason I'm not doing these at night is because other baby lock educators have their regular weekly lives at night, and I just don't want to interfere with anybody else's schedule. So that's why I'm doing all my other ones. My Friday night live is every night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. But through the week, and all my additional lives will be at noon, will be beginning at noon. Blah blah blah. And so we're going to get started. I'm going to piece these and make 4 patches out of them. That's step 1 today. Oh, wonderful, Ellie. I will be making some of those too. And there'll be times I'll be using a serger or a Sashiko machine or just a semi-industrial straight stitch machine. I won't always be on the one I'm sewing on today. It'll be varied and different. We are also getting about ready to start where I can start doing lives on my long arm quilting machine. It's just happened to run all new cables, and oh my gosh, it's been an adventure, let me tell you, trying to get everything set up to run properly. So let's get started piecing these, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, so I am going to swap my camera, one more view. Here we go. So while I'm piecing, we'll be using this view right here. And you know, these are batiks, and if you've ever worked with batik fabrics before, you probably know sometimes there's really not a right side or a wrong side, which is sometimes is a good thing and sometimes it's not, and all that fun stuff. And I do have my stitch length set to 1.8 millimeters, simply because that way, with the stitches smaller, I don't have to tie off each end of a seam line. Okay. I'm just going to run these through. And I just realized what I was doing last night. I was showing how you don't have to cut threads in between when you're chain piecing if they're going to be sewn together. However, on these, I am going to have to alternate which fabric is on top. That way I won't have to cut everything apart to resew it back together again. I hope that made sense. But you'll see what I'm going to do right here. Now on this one, we'll put this one on top. Okay. Okay. Oh, wonderful, Elle. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Oh, thank you, Karen. Yes, I like to make garments as well, everybody. I worked for a number of years in the garment industry, back in the 80s actually, in working sewing factories, and that's all we did. We made the sewing factory that I worked at. We made trousers, men's trousers. As you can see what I'm doing now, this next one I run through, I'll just switch the order of what's on top. I'll put this dark blue one on top when I run this one through. And then I won't have to clip my threads in between these units when I sew them together. I'm watching the chat window, everyone. If you want to ask a question, by all means, just type it into the chat window and I'll do my best to answer it. Let's see here. Make sure my stripes go the same way as I'm piecing. They don't have to be, that's just the way I like to do that. Okay. Absolutely, Tracy. It is a great time saver. And it does make it easier just to get everything lined up when you're sewing the piecing together as well. Now, if this was being strip piece, it'd be a totally different story. But when you're doing this type of piecing where each individual piece is cut and then sewn together, this is a wonderful technique to help speed things along, and it does help improve on accuracy and all that fun stuff. And I do my best when making a scrappy looking quilt is to actually try to randomly pick the colors as much as possible. Because I'm going after that serendipitous scrappy look. Yeah, let's see here. This particular batik does have a right and wrong side because the little dots on this are very prominent on one side. There's little bitty dots of green right here. Or on this side you can still see them, but there's not as many. Yes, Mia, that does make sense. And no, I did not do that. I am doing my best with something like this, you just want the fabrics to contrast. So you could have two lights together as long as there's a good contrast between them. For instance, excuse me, this is really kind of two lights together. This is two softer colors, but they do have a nice high contrast. So as long as the two colors contrast, you're golden. They can be two darks or two lights or light and dark or however you'd like to do that. And I'm just going to try to make a mental note to myself. Any stripes, I'm going to run horizontally as I'm looking at them. That way they'll all be positioned in the same orientation, so to speak. Like that, this one, while if you look at them from a distance, they really don't look any different. But this side, just you can see more detail in the dyeing of it, where this one has a more smoother grade finish to it. So you just see more little details in this one, and that's how in a batik. I will flip that when you see me flipping them, I'm looking to see which side is the brightest or has the most detail in it. And that's what I consider the right side to a batik. Sometimes there is no difference. And sometimes there is. look at that one. That just doesn't look quite right. Let me see here. Rejoin it. Okay. There we go. Okay. There we go. Here we go. Had to do that quick shuffle there. Okay. Now I'm not going to cut these apart unless I did something like this. See how there's two there together? So what that means is if I open these up to sew these two halves together with that thread attached, it's not going to work. So I'm going to have to cut that one apart. Okay. Let's see here. And that's okay. I'll just cut that one out of the loop. It'll be done separately. I know the very first one was that way as well. And that's good. That's good. 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 And that one I'll have to cut apart. Just the end piece though. There we go. So now all I'm going to do is feed these in from the side here. Let me do this one first because it's a loner. It's by itself, and then it can be joined with the rest of them. Okay. And I will nest the seams together as I go. And after these blocks are done, then I'm going to press all of them. I don't press as I piece unless it's something where I absolutely have to. Because in my humble opinion, many times we overpress our piecing and it can distort the fabric out of shape. And by not doing that, it saves the amount of time it takes to piece, but also it just saves from pressing something out of square or out of shape. A really great example is like a Lone Star, an 8-pointed star. With all those bias edges, you definitely do not want to piece every step of the way on that, or you'll have a bubbled up mess in the middle of it. And that's something we'll be making here on our Studio Fun Days as well. And so I am going to have to clip these apart. See here, there's just no way. If I do the next one, there'd be no way to line it up without it making a mess. So these, I'm just going to snip them as I go. But what I will do is cut that one apart. But I'll still leave these attached and then cut them apart as I feed them through. Hope that makes sense. There we go, right there like that. Hold them over. Nested my seam. I'll cut that apart. Do the next one. See that one right there? It turned out nice. Really great meat right there in the center. Okay. If nothing else, doing it this way, it does help keep your everything organized and in order. Oh, I love all the colors too, Mia. There's some, I like quilts that doesn't have a ton of different fabrics. In other words, a non-scrappy quilt. But I love a good scrappy quilt too. And especially if you're going to put them on a bed, it really gives it a certain je ne sais quoi. I think I need a sip of my coffee. Give me a sip of my coffee here. Let's see here. Hooey. There we go. Let's see here. Yes, this is making quilts. Sometimes it's like what we're doing right now. It is a repetitive process. It's all good. And it is part of it. It's always nice when you can, if you have a sewing friend, that you can work on projects together at each other's homes, or go to a shop, a little quilt shop somewhere for an open day of sewing. Or if you belong to a guild or a quilt group or clubs, they will have that as an option as well. Let's see here. Here we go. Those two turned out really nice together. Excuse me. So I'm going to turn my iron on. Let that heat up. Then we'll get these all cut apart and it'll be time to get these all pressed. So let's see how many blocks we ended up with this go round. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and there's 16. So that's 16 4 patches we've made, which that'll mean 16 blocks for our quilt top. Okay, I'm going to move my cutting mat out of the way. And I'm going to swap my camera view. This is a wool pressing mat that I have on my table beside my machine. This is where I'm going to be pressing today. And when I press these, I will lay them out folded in half, and then I'm going to press them open like so with my iron. And that way it'll keep that seam there, it'll keep it going in one direction as I press. I'll just go out from the center along each center seam. Just give them a good press. And there we go. Nice and flat. Easy peasy. Okay. I'll just repeat that process for each one of these blocks. This is one of those Panasonic cordless irons. I really like this iron. It's really handy to have by your sewing machine, that's for sure. You know, it's with or without steam. Okay. Gentle press there to get them in the right order. And I'm not pressing down hard, everybody. I'm just letting this glide over the fabric. Because all I'm wanting to do is just to flatten out the seams so they lay nice and flat. As you can see there, it does. There's the center right there. You want that to lay really nice and flat, because when it comes time to cut these apart to sew back together, it really makes it more accurate. The cuts are more accurate if the seams are laying nice and flat You do not need to press these seams open. There's no reason to. There's not, in this quilt top, there's no super bulky seams. That's when it really is good to make sure you press a seam open, is if you have like an 8-pointed star, for instance, in the center, you have 8 layers, 8 seams coming together, and if they're pressed just to the side, boy howdy, it's going to create quite a big lumpy knot right in the middle of that piecing. And you sure don't want that. There we go. You want to make sure there's no little folds right there on those seams, because that can really throw measurements off as well. In other words, just do the best that you can do, and it's all good. It'll all work out, and everything will be just perfect. There we go. Okay. You can see it just really doesn't take that long to press these seams. It's part of the fun, making a quilt, or anything really that you sew. Sometimes it's more important to press your seams as you're sewing. For instance, let's say you were sewing hexagons and you had Y seams. Well, that is an instance where you would want to press your seams every step of the way, and you'd want to press those open so that you can get a perfect fit for a Y seam. It's probably one of the seams that I've heard most people complain about having to make is a Y seam. Simply because, yeah, it is a more technical seam, and really to get it to lay nice and flat and for those joins to be nice and crisp, it's just something that takes a little bit of practice. And it's not that it can't be done, it can. The more of it you do, as with anything, the easier it becomes. And that's with anything that we do. Not just quilting or sewing, but my goodness, even driving a car. I mean, that is something that's a skill that when you first start out, it takes practice to do that. For most people anyway. Think of cooking. Oh my goodness. Try out a new recipe. Who's had to make a recipe 7 or 8 times to get a result that they're happy with? I know I have. Excuse me. Heat back up. Yeah, we've only got this one and 3 more to go. And we'll have that all done. Okay. Oops. Okay. There we go. Nice and neat. Now then, let me get these all stacked up here. Excuse me. And get the cutting table back on. There we go. And here on camera, I'm going to show how to make those 2 blocks again that this quilt top is being made from. So we got about another 15 minutes to go on this episode, everybody. Okay. So the first one is this block right here. And it's all 1.5-inch cuts for both blocks. So for this block A, we're measuring from the center seam of that 4 patch and cutting an inch center seam, 1.5 inches out from the center seam on all 4 sides of the block. Get that centered a little bit better. There we go. Okay. 1. And I'm going to rotate that mat. 1.5 inches in the center of the seam. Cut. Rotate it. 1.5 inches. Center of seam. rotate it, 1.5 inches, center on the center of the seam, and cut. Okay. Then all we have to do is rotate the 4 side pieces. See here, we're going to rotate them so that the colors, the same 2 colors, don't line up next to each other. There we go. And now that's ready to sew together. Here we go. And what we're going to do, we're going to start for this block. We'll start on this way and piece this way. You'll see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to swap my camera angle to my other view. There we go. And just right in order, row 1, 2, 3. I'm going to bring the first 2 pieces of each row and chain piece them together. Lining up that center seam, that's what we have to match. Cut that. And we'll do the next one. I'm not going to cut these apart. We'll leave these sewn together. Then we're going to add the next pieces for each row. There. Right there. Okay, and right here. Now all I have to do is sew the 3 rows together. All the rows are in order in the way that they're going to be stitched, and they're still connected by our piecing threads, so it makes it super easy to line up. I'm just going to flip them over where they're connected, 1 row at a time, and sew that seam. That. Then when I open it up again, first 2 rows are sewn together, everything lines up perfectly, and now I just have to flip that one over and sew it on. That way you don't have a bazillion little pieces laying everywhere and you're trying to figure out what to sew together next. Been there, done that myself. Probably be there again at some point in the future too. It's all good. let's have a look at that one. There we go. There's block number 1 done. Now we'll do block number 2. We're going to do block number 2 next. Okay. This time, we're still going to make 1.5 inch cuts, but we're going to measure from the outside edges. Okay, 4 cuts just like before. There's my 1.5 inch mark. I'm lining the 1.5 inch mark along the outside edge of the block. Make our cut. We're going to rotate it. Make sure it stays lined up. I'm going to rotate it and do another one. 1.5 inches along the outside edge of the block and cut. Rotate. One and a half inch mark along the outside edge of the block and cut. And rotate. And we have one more cut to make. This is cut number 4. Along the 1.5 inch mark along the outside edge of the block. There we go. You can adjust it too, just by moving it underneath that ruler and lining it up. There we go. Now, separate them. Once again, the side pieces we are going to rotate. And then we're going to sew them all together yet again. But on this block, we're going to start on the right side of the block and piece to the left. The first one we piece left to right. The second one here, we're going to do right to left. Makes it easier if you have the largest piece of fabric on the bottom. Thank you, Mia. I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching. And one more. Then we're going to cut it, and then this is row 3 that we're going to bring to the top. That way our largest pieces stay on the bottom, and we're just going to sew our other pieces on. Our last 3 pieces, 1 piece to each row. Check something here. That is correct. I thought it was off, but it's not. There we go. So I had to make sure it was right. Okay, and one more. And then we'll just, once again, they're still, I call this thread pinning, basically. They're all thread pinned together. And we're just going to flip them over and sew our 3 rows together. And this block will be complete. Okay. One more. Here we go. Look at that. Nice and neat. And there we go. I think these are just as pretty as the other ones. Okay. So next, I'm going to sew 4 of these together that'll fit with what I'm doing over there. I'm just going to randomly pick 4 blocks that'll have some contrast to them. Let's see here. There's 4. Let's swap that camera view over. Here we go. Okay. Those. Let's see here. That one. Right there instead. But we're going to have to do this as well. We're going to mix them up, the 2 different styles. I knew I was forgetting something. Here we go. There's that one. That one. Let's see here. So I have another one that will work. Can take that out. This one. Insert this. 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 Yes. And put in this one here. Part of the fun is deciding which ones to sew together, right? Okay, so let me see here. I know what I'm going to do. Over here on my table, I have a lot of stuff with blue in it. So this is going to be a very blue area of the quilt. Here we go. That's what I was looking for right there. Or these have to be, there we go. There we go. Now it's correct. I'm going to sew these 4 blocks together and we'll get a little sneak peek what that quilt top would actually look like, or at least the beginnings of it. Oh, thank you. Sewing in trifocals. Thank you, Allison. Hi, Vanessa. Thank you. Yep, so I'm going to sew these 4 together, and I'm going to call it a day for right now. I might come back on later. I'll probably be on at some point tomorrow as well, so we'll see. For sure, I will be back on Monday at the very latest. And all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to sew these together in rows. Okay. And there's only one seam line. By doing it this way, that I have to match up. Okay, and that's in the very center of each block. There we go. Get that nested together is what I'm doing. Perfect. Okay, right there. As you can see, by alternating 2 blocks, these 2 blocks I decided on, this is the only seam line right here. Let me swap that camera back again, that angle. This is the only seam line I have to match up, is the center seams. And of course, then where the 4 blocks come together, those will have to be matched up as well. I'm going to sew these 2 together. Okay. There's that seam line right there that lined up. And then since there's 2 different blocks, it's just kind of like a checkerboard fashion, the way that they're going to go together. So there's where the 4 blocks come together right here. So there's 3 points on this seam that I have to match. Center of each block and where the 4 blocks join right here. Okay. There we go. Let's have a look at that. And as you can see, that's how easy these blocks are to set together. There we go. And maybe you don't want to make like a huge quilt out of it. But that's to make a beautiful size for a throw pillow right there. And just those 4 blocks would Pretty cool. Alrighty. Let's see here. So everybody, let me change my camera back here. Okay, so that's what I have for you so far for today. That was episode 2. The next step is going to be actually piecing all of these blocks together. And then I'm going to move on to a different type of 4-patch where we, by alternating the cuts, will actually be making blocks that have stars in the center of them. So that's coming up on next Friday, the star block 4-patch variation is. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you here in a day or so. And once again, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications so you're notified when I go live here on my YouTube channel, and that way you won't miss anything. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you shortly. Bye now.